uncle about the same thing, and they were actually talking about purchasing it. They have an increase of purchasing it. Living down. With the parent, like they're going to be paid off after the parents. Maybe this is a generational difference.
Well, I think what makes difference is right now mortgages, they're not extremely high. Hell, I remember mortgages in the 20s, 20%. So they're not,
How used they're all.
yeah, they're all high, but home values have really shot up.
Yeah, right.
And
Versus income.
the number of banks, you don't have the local banks. I mean, hell, we don't even have local bank here. Because while it's local, it's not local. You got 3 people that own all the banks in Iowa. For local banks. And it just makes sense. You got people that's got not a lot of cash, but they got some cash sitting there and they're not getting any return on their cash. And then at the same token with the kids, they want to charge them an extremely high rate of return. And then you're generally gonna run into PMI for mortgage insurance if you're gonna go to a bank. Because trying to find 20% to put down on these homes today is pretty damn hard for a young couple to do. Yeah. And so from that standpoint, I mean, it really makes sense if you got the means to finance it. It's a win-win for both sides.
Yeah, well, we did that. But that was these parents, but not every home, but we brought it to them as a contract, and it's like. We just did talk about, hey, what are you getting in savings? What if we match what you got in savings? We have to bridge the gap for the house that's one versus how we were report. Or the question about and we're like, well, we made it rent, but we know we can afford it, ski, but we don't have any basic. Servers.
What's the short cheese cup? I mean, small cheese cup.
It's good and bad, it's good for me.
What is it?
And that's a win-win.
We need to put way more money in the book trying to get our great suit something.
And I glad you say. Well, what's the worst they're gonna do?
The rent cost.
But anyway,
Yeah, thousands. What are we doing here?
No, exactly, so I think that you're seeing a little bit, you're seeing definitely a shift in society and just in how some of these things are going. I think you're gonna see more of that.
Why not? We did it, but we're gonna. But.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would. Most of them are home. Because. But then you do it off of the home. Very now, it seems like. Homes are. Yeah, so you can afford it. Also then.
Very much a difference. Hey, are you moonlighting as a traffic control guy? I thought I seen you out there playing with traffic.
yeah, probably, yeah. I was out chasing teepeers the other nights too. They've been all over the place this paper.
Trying to save some money for the city, get some free toilet paper.
Was that not the worst toilet paper job you've ever seen? Like, it was all laying in the streets.
Opinions vary.
Okay.
There's a couple people that are pretty torqued out at the man. I'm sorry, I can't be everywhere, but
I can only tell you the route I drove out of town.
yeah, it's
On the street.
Yeah, our kids have got to quit being so lazy, right? I gotta get it up in the trees.
but it was bad, but somebody brought apples to the game, so there you go.
Brought what?
Apples.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, kids. I don't know what's happening.
And so it's good today.
I was noticing the plates on the commercial city police cars. Nice. And I could get some of those for us.
My glasses, I couldn't see that nothing in there. Oh, yeah, my push on, so it was sliding that way. I think. And went through my, I took my glasses off.
You saw my weather.
Yeah, say somewhere. Okay.
Yeah, they're on my desk. I just need to know, we've got extra sets, so I just need to know what, but I'm sorry.
All the same, thank you.
Right, well, I just need to know the number of events that I can make. And then what I wanted to eventually do is get plates on all of our vehicles, so I have them.
Best, you bet. Tell you what, to get back there, there's another thing, when my dust settles, my glasses, get all the plates and match me to the bin, turn them on, and start the car. I get that.
They like a comment that we treat everybody the same, because that's really what we're here. Treat people the same. Well, you might be, but I'm not.
Yeah, but you know how much we vote.
Hey, who's running for election now? But
I'll be nice.
there's some should be. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, next time I get a citizen come and bitch about what's going on, I'm gonna say, stop. Did you run for registration and stick your ass behind your ability? If you don't wanna put in the time to make a difference, don't come and complain to me.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that's like a complete.
I got on council because I was tired of complaining without doing something, so I decided to come do something.
Yeah.
Now I'm tired of doing things, so I'm gonna go back to complaining.
Yeah.
Jacob didn't even run?
That's.
March.
Well, I haven't.
Oh.
I.
I just hear it, it's I would have run down it.
So I'm like, I realized you know. With them trying. Alter my opinion and everything.
So I gotta do all my projects.
I keep those instead of the bucket. Yeah. Yeah. They're not sure.
Terrible, girls match, I think it's matched books, the only thing we can figure out is that. After Teresa Balance did somebody put one transaction.
Yeah. How far? Is it an even number, an odd number?
No, it's just a random.
Can you divide that number by 9 and it comes out even?
So that's when.
No, because it's just, it's not like, it doesn't look like a transaction.
I just wondered, if you divide by 9, it could just mean somebody transposed something.
Yeah. No, that's one of the first things I looked for.
Divide it by 2,
I'm look, yeah, I'm looking for the.
multiply it by 2 and go the other way.
Don't feel like that strong sense around.
Well, the other thing is, that's what she had on the report for outstanding transactions, because she had everything balanced back in the book. So when I got into July, I put balance, they're probably back to June. She had balanced in the books. But when I ran the outstanding transactions report. That's not really what I heard, has to me out. So I don't know what happened here between the time she ran the report and I ran.
All of them say 2.
Again,
I've seen.
could be somebody ever did something in the.
So it's like neat.
Well, very likely somebody moved something from 1 month to the next.
Yeah.
So I moved something out of July, and June moved it into July. And what that did, is just, they got to do your back to the dollar.
Well, it would have been everybody, because the report that I read, most recent report, has $50,000 more than same transactions. But I don't.
Somebody out of the middle, like,
Yeah.
That's like, when kids that have.
well, you should be able to narrow that down pretty simple where it is.
I know where it is, in the general. I went down and compared everything.
Can't you find the transaction?
I haven't started looking, I'm still working on balancing out the sewer, because the balance is about the same amount that. The outstanding transactions.
So you got an outstanding transaction against the sewer, the one to the general fund of transfer.
That's what I'm guessing, that's where.
And that's exactly where it's, I'm thinking.
Yeah. Because she didn't run it, I don't think she ran it by funds, I think she just went. Transaction. Oh, well, this was.
Well, it could be that you may not even be up, well, I guess yes, because you have a tie up.
I've seen.
So if that's the case, that it came through the general to the sewer, do they have a bond issue, the sewer that they paid debt on?
Right.
Well, yeah, they did, they had a.
Yeah, it's
The reason I asked them that, generally, your interest in stuff will run through your general fund and be transferred across.
Then you get her, you know.
No, that's all right,
That's not what.
it goes directly.
The rest of that, we're gonna today.
And that's clear.
Sorry, I mean, that's a pretty large amount. Go back then, I would go back to your AP transactions. You should see that same amount in AP transactions.
Yeah.
I mean, cause that's just not a standard, that's not a standard transfer.
I'm just going fast.
And we were coming late, and truly, you got a bill late.
Yeah, not.
Yeah.
Didn't say, oh, I wonder, she had a question. This investor's budget.
So that's what I would do, is I'd look at accounts payable, and see if you can find out about accounts payable, narrow it down to who it is. Cause if you know who it is, I just hold the invoice and generate an invoice, understand this, you know, what they're. Oh, grass number, it's so soft, they're over 20 mile an hour, doesn't show going this way.
So they have some, there's a point that says, yeah, so like your parents said, the kids have all been into that. And I'm just at least in that, it's 2 monkeys.
I had a kid come by my house the other night, I don't even know what he was riding, it was dark. And he was humming along at pretty good speed, and the only light he had was a flashlight in his mouth, as he was going down the road. I thought, wow.
My sister were, there was a girl press, double that wreck from that. Fortunately, no one's get along with it, and because kids still, they were at the end of the sideline, on their curve, like, whatever it was. She got it. Well, it's like, they back then, so.
Why about if the kid and they come? I mean, lucky that's his first year in my life, and there at the high school where the weeds there, in that ditch. We Ballard, the high school was pretty high. Some little kid is football player, I mean, he was good bit over 3 foot high, and he come running right out from those weeds in the street, and I was right there, it's like, oh. If I would have been going any faster, I would have. I would, yeah.
I was done as a telling on the best guy, like. Sentence started there later. Yeah.
You know, if I knew this, they would go over, I expect them over there on the other side. Where you were tonight, where all the kids gathering all the way apart. I just don't always think about them coming out of high school park. It's also coming across the field.
Anyone make ice cream, Chelsea?
I did. I went in the front door, and they come out, went in the back door, that'd be somebody else. Next one.
Dave, you didn't miss free ice cream.
Huh?
You didn't miss free ice cream. It's cheaper, Santa or you can, I had steak, but once you saw it, it's good.
It cost him.
Yeah, person folks that I have met. We provided it for them to businesses.
I got all excited and spilled my popcorn all over it, but yeah, it's good.
Hello, how you doing? Hello, how are you? I see you're wanting to speak. Well, yeah.
I got your follow-up message.
How was that for time?
That was good news, right?
So many for some animals, I didn't know.
Yeah, just some serious issues. I was totally unaware.
Lemonize their last.
They say, okay. Okay. You can do there.
And we worked with the city of Paris and they both on the honor. Then I signed on, we don't need it. We don't. So, but I did it there. Okay. Yeah, so this. We just try to do as good as we can. So it's on that website, just like trying to change that.
Probably result like that.
Well, I was taking care of myself. Maybe no time to renew this. We were gonna do.
I'm sure. People usually, it's the ones that are genuinely shocked that you're like, where have you been? First, Aaron, how's it going? First.
I understand.
Feels so much later than like 6 o'clock. The sun going down early and it's cloudy and.
I was gonna, or maybe we'll still,
Oh,
I'm hoping to go look at something after the meeting and I looked and like, maybe too dark.
oh, it might be. No, I
Out there
know.
like flashlight.
That. It was, when I left Nevada last night, it was pitch black. It wasn't even 8 o'clock.
Right, charity.
I agree. It does. It absolutely does. I know.
He took that thing, he took it so low.
Was the, anything more with the county? Drainage district?
Haven't heard anything more
Not good start.
Maybe I'll go away.
about it. We've done what we needed to do.
We know what we're gonna sign.
Yeah,
Haven't heard any more.
Yeah, this guy's.
I think Darren was kind of like, this is a problem for a different day. That was my
oh,
impression.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't see an immediate problem, so
Yeah.
neither do we.
This was a problem for when Darren's not there anymore.
That's what it kind of sounded like, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, Darren's attitude is on a lot of things.
Is it?
Yeah. This is their. That's the last time, so, yeah, hey, we can add it. Yeah. Run the farm, first we have any answers. Let's put you on the agenda. Okay. You or Dylan or whoever. Raise money for the whole sponsor. In the international charity, yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. I will be on some point on, but I don't. Others, sometimes. I don't like to make a lot of large groups. Thirty-five, or whatever, time plus now. Which is, man, that's still. I can't like you think on my schedule, I'll be able to do the trees. I don't make stuff. I don't want to stop. Just have where we know, that's not there. That's the fact, all right. Or we stop from saying this, so go back, or we should go back and go back the last. Yeah. I thought so earlier time. I expected. Hey, that thing. Well, I would just. I thought we have. Either the third. Yeah. I think. Yes, the kids that are stuff in the gym. Yeah. I'm here. So you can do that. They win that. I don't know what to do with most, but as it becomes. They were out just putting some gear on.
Yeah, there's some parking there. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and no reason why.
Be a lot easier if they just write sewers. Bicycle.
Well, it's not like we have,
Bicycle.
we don't really have an overabundance of parking for what we have here. You know, you get the gym and the library and everything going on. I wouldn't say that it's an overabundance of parking. But I hope.
That was just with your right.
Architect did it.
Yeah.
In fact, when we had people coming in on horse and buggies, we probably had plenty of room.
Oh, we can get it as a blank.
I got one extra. It's okay.
I didn't send it the other way, so we covered that. Oh, actually, that's not in there. Yeah, you want to get. Oh, it's about. Okay, I still can't be sensitive. They're gonna be up with comment.
Yeah, she's driving around the parking lot with it.
Crazy. He's here, Dave.
I might have seen somebody walking right there. There you go.
There, not here.
Expected to be so busy.
Yeah. Now the last day. I don't want to tax me.
We know he's looking at his phone. Thank you, Aaron.
I'm already.
And now we lost Aaron, something.
He's a phone sitting there.
Walk you right last.
Yeah, I did. Sorry.
Good evening. The time is 6 p.m. I will call to order the September 23rd meeting of the Huxley City Council. Roll call, please.
Murphy,
Here.
Mulder,
Here.
Rigler,
Here.
Etcher,
Here.
Roberts.
Here.
Thank you very much. I should note we are streaming on YouTube as well. Need a motion to approve the agenda as presented. I'll give you a motion, Mulder. I'll offer a second. Second, Mr. Rigler. Any comments? Hearing none. All those in favor, please respond with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now is the time in the agenda for public comment. Anybody from the public wishing to speak on any agenda or non-agenda items is certainly welcome to at this time. Just ask that you come to the podium and start with an introduction of your name and address and limit your comments to 5 minutes. Two other notes. If you wish to speak on a work session item, I will give you an opportunity during the work session to speak on those items. And also I would note that certainly public comments are welcome and encouraged. However, it's not an opportunity for a back and forth dialogue with the council. You're absolutely have an opportunity to make a statement, but council does not respond during these. So, sir, would you like to start? I bet you're the only one tonight. Please. Oh, sure. Yeah, I'll make that comment, sir. I'll just ask you to come up here, sir. You're good, sir. You start with your name and address, please.
Yeah, I'm Denny Heinen. I suppose most of you probably remember me being here a year or two ago, well, a year and a half ago or so. But I'm here to request that a certificate of occupancy be granted to a building that we built on 204 West Railroad Street. It was the old lumber yard. And I guess, we built everything, we've had it inspected and everything, and then I find out that we needed to do some other things after I request where my occupancy permit was, so. Anyway, I'd like to address some few items that the city engineer had a problem with and explain what we did there, so. Do you guys have his thing there and the items that he had listed? Well, I can explain them a little bit as I go, I guess, so. Items 1 and 2 are basically pertaining to the paved parking lot and the amount of pavement. And the fact of putting the sidewalk all the way across the lot and a paved driveway approach. And at the time I approached the city council and we kind of agreed that I'd put approach in front of the house and do the sidewalk up to the end of the approach or a little more and different things like that. And the gravel, because there's really not no established curb or storm sewer or anything along that street. And anything that we did probably would have a big risk of being torn out anyway. And I was to sign an agreement if they ever developed it or when they developed it, that we'd go ahead and then finish the rest of that as we go, at that time. And I proceeded and signed the paper, which I thought was that, so. That pretty much pertains to items 1 and 2. We put it in there, actually, we raised the building up an extra 8 to 12 inches so we could get fall and everything there. So we had done that and we got everything draining really well. There's no ponding or anything. I worked with city employees on what to do and attach the sidewalk, which they have done now. And it's working really good. I mean, it looks good and it's all reseeded. I talked to the city guys at the time they were doing it and, they agreed that they would drain the west side of that road that goes to the bridge. That, there'd probably be a problem with the drainage there and stuff. So they drained it in that retention pond that we had built there. So, and it's working really good, I guess. So, they had no problem with it. And so I guess that kind of takes care of that item there. And then there was a little bit of an item where I cemented it a little bit more. It's not on the city line, but we cemented all the way there, so I didn't have 3 or 4 foot of just gravel or something people would probably drive on anyway. The handicap parking lot was in the process of being put in and everything at the time. So that's all done. We got like 6 parking spots there. So I think we did everything pretty good. We built a building. We've had it all inspected. We did put the retention pond in and then I find out, I guess we didn't need it. However, it's there, so it's there. And so we spent the money and had the guy put that in and material and stuff there. And so it's being used properly. And so it does drain the city, it does drain the front end of the building really well. It's probably not exactly the plan, but we had an issue with, the phone company when they run the cable and stuff in, which they weren't supposed to do, but they did. So that's why it kind of goes a little bit steeper on the front side there a little bit, but so we didn't have to remove all that and stuff. So I guess what I'm doing is requesting that we get a permit granted the way we have it built and work with us on it that way there. So that's what I'm here for tonight. So anybody got any questions? I'll try to answer them.
No, I appreciate your comments, Mr. Heinen. I guess I'll ask staff just if you could forward that site plan and those comments to council, so they've got a copy of that. And then if you could follow up with Mr. Heinen accordingly with, sounds like maybe some items have been addressed, but if you could follow up with him accordingly. So. All righty, sir. I appreciate your comments this evening. All right. Is there anybody else wishing to speak tonight? If you do want to speak on a work session item, you're certainly not prohibited from doing that now, or for scheduling reason that works better for you, you're certainly welcome to speak now, but just ask that you start with your name and address, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Justin Peterson. I'm at 601 Meadowbrook Place in Huxley. I'd like to speak tonight on an issue that has been kind of relevant around lately. There's been a lot of these e-scooters and e-bikes that are coming around town, especially popular with the youth, various class levels up to approximately 20 miles an hour. But a lot of that's going to depend on the unit that's out there right now. We have some concerns, my wife and I and a couple other residents, that there's a bit of unknown, maybe some expectations of how these can be safely operated in the city here. I know there have been a number of I'm going to call them close calls with automobiles. I'd really hate to see any kind of an accident occur as a result of negligence or a lack of any kind of ordinances or anything that might that we can try and help keep our youth safe. Obviously, in a case with a vehicle, whether they're right or wrong, the vehicle always going to win. So I'd really hate to be to a point where it takes a tragedy for the city to act on some instance like this. I know my wife and I have observed multiple instances of kind of weaving in and out of traffic on an e-scooter, going approximately 20 miles an hour. No helmets, multiple riders. It's difficult as a driver to spot someone who may be weaving in and out of vehicles, going approximately 20 miles an hour on a sidewalk. That's also difficult for someone backing out of a driveway, and really just other pedestrians for that matter. So I wish to be here tonight to ask council to engage in a what's the proper term, a work session, as far as different ordinances or different instances that we can put together to at least have a dialogue and start a conversation around it, right? We don't want to be regulated so that no one can ride a scooter, no one can ride a bike, but at the same time, how can we do so safely? And how can we give those around us the education and the knowledge to do so as well? So I guess I yield the rest of my time.
Fair enough. I appreciate your comments this evening. Sir. Just ask that you start with your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Brian Mortz. I live on 528 West Centennial Road, and that's west of Ballard Drive. And we are new to the community, and we're loving it here in Huxley. However, we came in and talked to Barb when we bought our house about the no parking zone on both sides of the street. And we were told that one of the sides of the street would be available to park on West Centennial on the west side of Ballard Drive. And lo and behold, a couple weeks ago, no parking signs came up on both sides of West Centennial Drive. And so I'm here, and Barb even showed us the documentation in your guys' books of where it was voted on, where it was not voted on. And I would just appreciate us looking into that again to see whether or not that is still an option. Whether it's going to be both sides, no parking or not. My wife and I went out and measured our streets, because one of the things we heard is that street's not wide enough for having parking on one side. It's the same width, 29 feet, 5 inches, as the one is on Wild Oak Drive, which is brand new also, that there is parking on there. And another reason why they said it was that way, because it's a through street or a through street. That's a dead end street going that way. There's 9 houses that live on that road. And so I'm just asking that the council revisit that, see if there was a mistake on putting it up, because Barb did show us in the books that there was not supposed to be no parking on both sides of the street. So that's all I had. Just wanted to double check, and thank you for your time.
Yep, appreciate your comments. Again, just to clarify, you are on Centennial west of Ballard, correct?
West Centennial Drive, west of Ballard Drive, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Anybody else wanting to be heard this evening? Ma'am. Just ask that you start with your name and address, please.
Hello, my name is Jen Weidren. I live at 706 Park Ridge Avenue here in Huxley. I am here to second Justin's comments. I am another concerned citizen as well as a number of individuals. If you read Ballard Chatty Shack, this is definitely a topic of concern. So I appreciate the council's consideration of a work session around ordinances around electric scooters and bikes. I live in a T intersection, and so I too unfortunately have witnessed a number of near misses. So much to the fact that when we hear horns, my children say, there goes another e-bike or e-scooter. And so the fact that my small children have now put those two together, that a horn going down the road is a bike or scooter pulling out in front of a moving vehicle is a little concerning to me. I would like to applaud. I'm not sure if it has any type of coincidence with the schools, but I do drive down Oak in the morning, and there are a number of students that are using e-scooters that are wearing helmets at the corner of 69 in the morning, and I appreciate that. But it does seem like after school they are gone. So again, I don't know if that has something to do with school ordinances or not, but I do appreciate a work session around this topic. Again, I've witnessed way too many close calls, and I don't want to be the one that has to call 911 on an incident. So I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you very much. And as noted in the agenda, the council will be discussing this later this evening, so I encourage you to stick around. Anybody else wishing to be heard this evening? Seeing no one rise, we will move along. The time is 6:15. I will open the public hearing. It's a public hearing on an annexation of a property owned by the Iowa DOT. David, do you want to give us a brief overview here?
Yeah. As you recall, we annexed there was some property from Merle Brendelin and his family, as well as Dax Clark. The DOT had about 3.5 acres that was excluded through our conversations with City Development Board. We didn't get the whole kind of gist of what needed to be done. Even if we had followed the initial tract of what we did on those two, we would have been back with this piece because the Attorney General had to be notified of this being public lands. This will allow that annexation to go forward to the City Development Board because we are in an urbanized area. The county has given approval for both. The city of Cambridge has given approval. So we fully expect it to be approved by City Development Board in October. And once they approve it, there's a 30-day waiting period before it becomes official. So just trying to clean up and not leave an island out there in the middle of nowhere.
Appreciate that. Is there anybody wishing to speak tonight on the public hearing for this annexation? Okay. Seeing no one rise, ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
I give a motion.
Motion, Mr. Mulder.
Give you a second.
Second, Ms. Roberts. Do you want a roll call or just a voice vote? Okay. All those in favor, please respond to the aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Need a motion to approve resolution 25091. It's a resolution annexing the DOT property.
Give you a motion.
Motion, Ms. Roberts.
Second.
Second, Mr. Mulder. Any comments or discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Roberts.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
Mulder.
Yes.
Etcher.
Yes.
Rigler.
Yes.
Need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I give you a motion.
Motion, Mr. Mulder.
Second.
Second, Ms. Roberts. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Mulder.
Yes.
Rigler.
Yes.
Etcher.
Yes.
Roberts. Yes. Murphy.
Yes.
All right, need a motion to approve ordinance number 550. This would be the first reading, and it's an ordinance amending the city code of ordinances regarding accessory dwelling units. Do I have a motion?
Give you a motion for
Motion, Ms.
discussion.
Roberts.
Second.
Second, Mr. Mulder. Discussion.
I just want to understand a little bit better.
Aaron, do you want to give them the brief overview for these?
Yep, sure. So both this ordinance and the next one that's on the agenda for tonight are a result of legislation that was passed through the state. And so both of these, we're just trying to make sure that the city code is compliant with what is required now through the state legislation. So this first one is with regard to accessory dwelling units. This was not something that was previously housed in your city code at all. And you wouldn't have to necessarily adopt it into here, but I do think that it gives it the parameters. We've added a few different things in the review process for the city. But essentially what it requires is that there be one ADU allowed on a residential property. There was some good discussion about this at Planning and Zoning last week or the week before. But yeah. And pros, like some were excited about the prospect of ADUs, others weren't so much, but did understand that it was going to be a requirement of our state legislation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Aaron, I'm certainly supportive of the concept of ADUs and I think they've got a good place. I'm not nearly as excited about the requirement to allow mobile homes in backyards. Is there anything we can do to address that?
It's specifically included in the state legislation. So unfortunately, we've got to be bound by the terms of that legislation.
So as I read it, it says that it must be placed on a mobile home, trailer home, whatever the appropriate term is, must be placed on a foundation so as to be taxed as real property. How is that different from a mobile home park? Are those not on foundations?
That's a very good question. I can find that out for you. I do think those are on foundations as well.
Correct.
So I don't think that they're any different, but
Okay, I guess that's just.
So I think your mobile homes are temporary foundations with like blocks underneath the framework, but it's not all the way around and it's not like concreted in. So it's not a actual foundation, which is 4 foot deep.
okay.
And then I'm just guessing there, but knowing that I've lived in a trailer court park in the past, that's what it is. I mean, you're basically on piers. Yeah. And it's not dug into the ground 4 foot for a foundation.
I mean, that's correct. I understand your point, but your deck sits on a foundation and that foundation is just piers. So piers are a foundation that our building code would recognize, Huxley's code would recognize.
Again, you're setting them under a 4 foot deep.
A frost protected.
Right.
This doesn't say it has to be a frost protected
Right,
foundation.
so but it's saying it's a foundation, correct?
It does stay on a foundation. Yeah. It doesn't further define what that is,
What that
the requirement of that is.
So anyway, I'm just curious if you wouldn't mind, nothing that'll stop us from a first reading here, but.
Yep.
Thank you. Any further questions or discussion on accessory dwelling units?
I just have a
Yes, ma'am.
follow-up then. So even if we were to do nothing, the state law would take precedence anyway, right? So, okay.
Hearing no further comments, I'd ask for a roll call, please.
Roberts? Yes. Murphy?
Yes.
Mulder?
Yes.
Rigler?
Yes.
Etcher?
Yes.
Moving along, I need a motion to approve ordinance number 551. It's a ordinance amending the code of ordinances for the city of Huxley regarding the variances. This would be the first reading. Need a motion.
I'll give you a motion.
Motion, Mr. Mulder.
Give you a second.
Second, Mr. Murphy. Aaron, can you give us a brief, or Dave, brief overview on this?
Yep, I can give you a brief overview. So you'll see in here, you'll read this and you'll think, how is this different than the language that we already have? And you're right, it's very similar to the language that you currently have in your ordinance. And the reason for that is because you guys were kind of ahead of the times on what was required in order to approve a variance. And so you guys already had language in your code with regard to practical difficulties, which is the updated standard through this Iowa legislation for variances. So historically, it would be a true hardship. You guys still have in your code, we didn't make any revisions. You don't see it here in your packet because there wasn't a change, but there's still 5 different prongs that have to be met in order for your Board of Adjustment to approve a variance. We recently went through each of those steps with the board on an application that came through. And so those still live in there. The board still has to analyze each of those prongs in order to grant a variance. But this is just updating the language to make sure that it's consistent and matches what's in the Iowa code.
Great. Thank you very much, Aaron.
Welcome.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mulder,
Yes.
Rigler,
Yes.
Etcher,
Yes.
Roberts. Yes. Murphy,
Yes.
Moving along, department, council, and mayor reports. Start with Ames Regional Economic. Anything? Not required. Always like to hear from you, Travis.
Yeah, absolutely. No, just wanted to say thank you to those who came out today for the Business Ice Cream Social at Fabled. It was a fantastic turnout, and we look forward to doing more of those types of events here in the future and working with our local businesses. Also want to say thank you to those who came out in the community and businesses who participated in the hometown huddle on Saturday. It was a great turnout there as well. And so as we do more of these things, we bring more synergy to the business community and to those living in Huxley. So thank you for your support. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Any other department reports? I think it's just you, Nate. Okay. Nothing from you, Aaron,
Good, thank you.
Barb, David.
I would just note, we did hear, if you recall, back in June, you folks passed a resolution for 2 different housing projects that applied for the workforce housing tax credits. And they made those announcements last week. I think in the Alliance region, there were a total of, I think there were 12 applications. 8 of those were funded. We did get one of our projects funded. It would be the one from Abby Gilroy over at the Ballard Creek Assisted Living, and then the row homes that she's looking to do. She did get the maximum award of $1 million in the housing tax credits. So they're working on getting their, now that the McDonald's lot is getting, we've got it wrapped up. It's being, I think, all the easements and everything's going to be recorded tomorrow. They're finishing up getting Abby's lots legal done and recorded, and they'll be coming forward for rezoning and starting then her meetings with the neighborhoods and talking about what she's looking to do. So.
Thank you, David. Mr. Murphy.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Alder.
Well, I was talking to the DOT and it looks like 210 interchange is looking good. It's on schedule and should get opened up later this fall, just right on time. So in November, that'll be great to hear, get used to that back. And I sure appreciate the lane closure south of town being shortened up a little bit. That's was a Bearcat getting out of town. So looks good there. So keep those projects on schedule for us. So thanks.
I have a couple things. Do we have an update from talking to the county on paving 560th that mile?
We had a meeting with, we were with the drainage district discussion with, Assistant County Engineer Darren Moon and Scott Wall, who's the drainage clerk. And we got done with that conversation and I brought up the, subject of paving the last half mile. And, Darren said, I thought that might come up today. He said, we've kind of talked about it at our level, and the county is still not interested in doing anything with that project.
So like, I'm still interested in doing something with that because what is our next steps then? I mean, it's the cheapest we could get it done now, right? With the plant sitting right there and it's.
So you're correct, Tracy. My hesitancy, I'd love to see it paved as much as anybody. Currently, neither side of that road are in city limits, and I wouldn't be very supportive of paving a road that on the off chance could end up in Ankeny. Like, who knows?
Okay.
So I think step one is, and I know staff's going to engage in those conversations of, hey, is there some interest here? But yeah,
Okay.
yep, I think that's the appropriate step one. So.
Okay. And then the second one will be really popular. So I was gonna bring this up and I did transparency choose to run again. Whether I was or was not going to run again, I wanted to bring up the pay for council members and for the mayor. And so I would like to propose before November that we increase the pay from 75 for council members to, I would like to see 125. I'm willing to talk about that. And then for the mayor to go from, I believe it's 150 to 200. So a $50 increase on each if there's other interest in that, for that to take place, we would have to do it before November of this year.
I appreciate you bringing that forward, Tracy. Just a little bit of history. Staff, I guess, can do the research, but I don't think that's been increased in the past 10 years, 12 years. Council tried bringing that forward 5, 6 years ago, maybe. There were some issues. So,
nobody here does this job for the money, trust me. That's not why we do it. We are very much engaged, but I think previous council, Mark Baker, he would bring this up, like, he would like to at least be able to take your family out to dinner for the time that you give to the city and for the council. And so dinner's a little more expensive these days. So I would like to see 125 for council and 200 for mayor. If people are supportive, we would have that in our budget. We wouldn't have to, it's not a lot of money.
I would support it also. I mean, you know, if you were on the council a couple of years ago, we were having meetings 2 to 3 times a week. I mean, you were there and it went on for over a year and a half. Your time is something, and I believe $25 a month isn't gonna bankrupt anybody. It's not gonna make me rich.
fair enough. I would ask staff to put that on a future agenda. We'll proceed from there, so. All right, that will conclude our regular business for this evening. We do have a work session planned for this evening with 2 items. The first item is regarding the use of small motorized vehicles in the community. Nate, do you want to kick this off? Okay. Okay, fair enough. Perfect.
Can we have Nate's opinion on this?
We'll get it. Yep, absolutely. We'll get that. Yep.
Yeah, I asked for this to come to a work session. I had seen, like some of the people here said, feedback as I was collecting signatures, talking to people in the community, that I agree there's a safety issue. I've seen kids zooming in and out. What I'm hoping by looking at some neighboring communities' ordinances is that we can come up with something that increases safety, but is also, there's some ease of enforceability. That is where I do think it'll be important to understand where Nate and his guys, like what's actually practical. I see some of these things with licenses and different codes, and a lot of that I don't even know how we enforce it. But yeah, I'd like to see whether it's, you know, making it similar to biking laws where we yield to pedestrians and maybe it's in the road. If there are classes like Justin mentioned too, I don't know how things are labeled on scooters, but if there's an easy way to identify the classes or the speed differences, I obviously don't want 4 and 5-year-olds out in the road trying to navigate traffic. So yeah, I'm not pretending to have the answers. I'm recognizing a problem and hoping that we as council and looking at what some other communities have done, we can look at what has merit and come up with an ordinance that is actually enforceable. So.
Appreciate those comments. Any additional comments?
I think you did a very nice job. Like, I live on a busy street too for crossing 69, and just scares me how fast these kids are going down there waiting for something to happen. So I would be in favor.
I would also say the age group scares me. In our neighborhood, we have a couple of young girls that their scooter doesn't go really fast, but it's still electric, and they come zipping out of the driveway on that. And I mean, we're talking, I don't know what age group, but fairly young, still grade school. And at that age, they definitely do not have a sense of the rules of the road, this and that, and can be a danger to themselves.
A lot of that comes back on the parents, though. I mean, we can't regulate laws to 4 or 5-year-olds. I mean, it's not going to be enforced. So a lot of what we're talking about is going to come back to the parents. I'm all in favor of checking other communities. I do realize it's a problem. I see it every day. But legal problems are with the state has the same problems right now about regulating the electric vehicles. So not only us, but the state has the same problems trying to figure out how you're going to regulate those laws.
I guess it's my turn. Yeah, I see it every day as I drive around also, and I worry about the safety of those kids, and as a driver, I would hate to hit someone, right? So, but I go back to when my kids were riding bicycles to school before they had electric scooters, they were doing those pedal bicycles, and they would jump off the driveway curbs and do the other things and try and bunny hop and do all sorts of things going in and out of the traffic with those. So I know there needs to be some set of rules, but it came down to I had to tell them how to be safe and how to interact with those vehicles before. And I've taken their bicycles away from them. I was not a popular parent because I told them I saw them doing things they weren't supposed to. And I was not popular in that regards because I asked them to behave safely and as they moved it. Otherwise, they couldn't have their bikes because I didn't want them to not come home that night. So I forced that on my own kids, and I would hope and I expect most of the parents with the electrics are doing the same thing. I also took the opportunity with my staff meeting at work yesterday to ask how other people were handling it in their communities. And one of the ladies had mentioned that her neighbors were all Karens in their neighborhood. And so all the neighborhoods came together and yelled at the kids, and the kids were very well behaved, at least in that neighborhood. So, maybe we need to have more Karens, or I don't know what that is exactly, Dave, but there's something that's how they handled it in their neighborhood, is that everybody was out watching out for the kids and saying that. So I don't know, and maybe Nate can offer, how do we enforce different rules and things like that? They don't have driver's licenses in grade schools and things like that. I don't know how that's really enforceable, but I think it really starts at home, in my opinion.
How fast, so just a question, if I want to go out and get a non-registered electric, whatever, like your scooter, whatever it is, does that mean I can go out and go max speed? How fast can I go on sidewalks and the whole works without pertaining to any laws?
Class three bicycle, e-bike was probably about 28, I think.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Which, isn't okay in the streets now, sidewalks. What's the speed limit on a sidewalk?
Is class 3 the fastest class?
Yeah, there's 3 classes, which quite honestly, this is the enforcement problem I have, is it's hard to tell the difference between the 3 from a distance. There are regulations that you have to have some sort of sticker that says what kind of class it is. Has to be 9-point font, which I don't know what that means. If it means what's on my computer, it's very, very tiny. Okay. There's precious little state law yet on these things. So cities have taken upon themselves to start this up. Now let's talk about the scooters, the little jobbies where they just stand on the thing. I know the JCS, the juvenile court system in this Story County, is not interested in me referring people to juvenile court for driving on these things underage, whatever that is, say 16 or 14 or whatever. These guys are not even identified yet by a license or a permit. That's going to be a hard enforcement. Now, do we go after parents? Don't know. That's tough too. So that's the pickle we're in. This is tricky. This is challenging. I think cities have started to take it upon themselves to start doing some ordinances and regulations and whatnot. Some cities seem to be engineering rather than enforcing, meaning you can ride on a certain set of streets or the sidewalk or whatever it is with certain rules on the sidewalks or these lanes, I guess you could say. So there's the engineering part of it. Then there's the education part of it, which is, I think everybody kind of knows these things are, you can get hurt on these things, right? So that part's easy. So that's where we're at, guys.
So can you, somebody running a stop sign on these?
Yeah.
is it enforceable?
Sure, yeah, they do have to, just like a bicycle, right? A kid on a bike technically has to follow all the rules and regulations of the road. Now, these kids who are 12, do I write a ticket to them? Right, right.
Well, do I get a ticket? What, how does it affect me? I'm 12, I don't have a license.
Yeah, at that point, I'd probably want the guidance of the juvenile court officer, and they'd probably just tell me to be informal with it, maybe educate rather than enforce. That's just a guess. Like I said, I don't think they're interested in me referring people into their office for such things.
That's just sort of interesting.
I'm sorry?
I think that's interesting. If I'm
Yeah.
12 years old, I can just be blowing through stop signs and ignoring everything because nobody's gonna do anything. But if I'm 16 and I have a driver's license now, I officially get ticketed, it goes on my record.
Yeah.
Potentially cause insurance issues, loss of license. I mean, there's a lot of things that could
Yeah.
transpire with this, and they don't seem like a very just system.
Well, maybe we just expect more of the 16-year-old than we do the 12-year-old.
I wouldn't think the 16 is much more.
No, in some cases, absolutely not.
Well,
I'll concede that.
But
I'll definitely
you can
concede
be
that.
cited for a stop sign violation without going to court. A 12-year-old can be cited and have to pay a fine. So, and then that would, then if that fine did not get paid, subsequently, it'd probably go to a juvenile court situation for delinquency of the payment. But
Yeah.
it can happen, but does it happen? No. I mean, but then we might be going back to, if this is happening, you stop and talk to the 12-year-old. If it happens again, then you need to take that 12-year-old to the parents, and just say, hey, if it does continue, then it will be a citation, just a progressive discipline. But again, this is a lot of it's going to fall back to the parenting. And this is not a new issue, because like what Mr. Mulder just said, bicycles are subject to the traffic laws also. So when your kid could have been cited for running a stop sign with a bicycle. So I don't know what the answer is. I would suggest that the staff check with other communities and bring back to us what other communities are doing. Do you have any suggestions?
This was the first it's come up for me. So I had reviewed the information in the work session, but none of them are communities that I represent. So yeah, we can definitely do some digging.
I know Ankeny is looking at it, and just from the information I'm getting, but they're like,
Stand your point fully, but my concern is if we sit there and say, well, golly gee, it's the parents' issue, we can't do anything. The issue's not gonna slow down, because I don't see the parents rushing to the rescue to help out in this situation. I mean, if that was the case, we wouldn't have the problem to begin with. And so you gotta have some way to address the problem.
I agree with you, and that's why I think we should check with staff to check with other communities and see what they're doing. I mean, because it's not just a statewide problem, it's a nationwide problem. And it's not gonna go away, but the state is having the same problem of passing legislation and figuring out how you're gonna handle this issue. So I just think we need to slow down, and then we need to do some research and go from there. It's nothing we're gonna solve here by next week.
No, I agree with that.
No, and I'm not looking to penalize them. I'm just more worried about the safety issue. So I appreciate all the comments, and I think enforcement's probably gonna be tough. So I think we just see what we don't have a good sidewalk system, let alone a trail system in this town. So where do we start, right?
So they also got the ones, Nate, that look like bicycles but are classified under the motorcycle or.
Class 3s, yeah.
Yeah, and.
Yep, and they have the appearance.
Yeah.
Of a bicycle. I mean, you can kind of tell what you're dealing with. The easiest tell I've had is some of the kids will take their pedals off. So these are now motorcycles or mopeds, whatever you want to call them. And we've been enforcing that, but that's for state.
luckily we have some state code for that. But we've been, probably the biggest issue that I have is the stand-up scooters. We, you know, the classification, everything's been behind. The technology is way ahead of everything else. These things just got classified just not long ago. So it's gonna be a challenge.
Okay, thank you for those comments. I did, as I indicated earlier, I certainly want to give the public an opportunity to make any comments during this work session as well. So if there's any comments from the public regarding e-scooter or, well, whatever you want to call these things, scooters, motorized vehicles, certainly welcome to. So I just ask that you start with your name and address, please.
Hello, Justin Peterson, 601 Meadowbrook Place in Huxley. I want to propose starting with awareness. I fully agree with parents or the comments made about the parents. Absolutely, 100% safety starts as a parent, right? And I will do everything within my capacity to make sure my children are safe and the children of those around me. However, as soon as my kid leaves my line of sight, I'm up to their their discretion at that point, right? So I can't dictate what they do or don't do when I'm not there. So, and same for other children at that point, right? So awareness at this point is more what I would speak of. Obviously, it's difficult to enforce a lot of these things right now, especially with a lack of ordinances to do so. I don't have answers necessarily, but I can say that speaking with a number, excuse me, a number of other representatives throughout, friends rather throughout the country who have seen different areas of this. Bend, Oregon, for example, they have a big issue with these e-bikes right now. They technically have pedals on them, but the pedals don't even function properly, right? It's an appearance thing, but they're struggling with the same thing. These things are marked as class 2, meaning they can only go 20 miles an hour, clocked at 25, 26 miles an hour on the sidewalk, in and out of vehicles. Yes, they're struggling with the same thing. So I don't have suggestions or answers. I don't know how to also go to the community and say, hey, you need to be kind and watch out for watch out for all these scooters or bikes or as a vehicle. But I do think that whatever we can do to raise awareness, whether that's something through the schools, whether that's I don't know what different options are as far as community gatherings and education in that space. Obviously, this comes down to a parental issue, but modeling good behaviors as well, right? I mean, modeling wearing a helmet as a parent. I know you mentioned the Karens of of the area, right? I've spoken to a number of youth as well, and I get the look of, and who are you to talk to me? And they keep going. So anyways, that's all I have for now, but thank you.
Appreciate your comments. Anybody else from the public wishing to be heard on this evening? Okay, seeing no one rise. I'll turn it back to council here. We need to determine a direction, whether that's to direct staff to provide some research and comps or something of that nature.
I'm torn now because we're not going to be enforcing anything. Why are we having staff waste a bunch of time researching what other cities are doing for enforcement? And maybe it is starting with just awareness. And like you said, we're not going to have an answer within a week, but maybe we post on our city page. We talk about it in the schools. I don't want to go talk about it in the school. We put it in the flyer, the mailing flyer, reminder. Scooters are not cars. Be safe. Use your head. I don't know. So I don't have all the answers. I just hate to see staff go look at what other communities are doing. I'm happy to, if somebody else wants them to do that, that's fine. But if we're not going to be able to enforce, then I don't want to waste time to do that.
All right, appreciate that. I do think awareness, as was spoken to tonight, it's a huge piece, and I really want to highlight what the Hochul family and Huxley PD and Fabled have done to raise that awareness. I think that's a fantastic program. So I certainly want to mention that, but yeah, awareness is obviously where it needs to start, so.
I'd like to see some training classes maybe, look at the idea of putting together some training classes. And what brings me to that is when I was a young man, probably 12 years old or whatever, I had to go through tractor training course as a requirement in order to drive a tractor on the farm. And the 4-H program had a tractor safety course that you went and got certified on it. So you were safe to be on the farm in the tractor. Why couldn't we as a community look at some sort of a training course type thing to help with that awareness? To help educate students or children, that parents then could enroll their kids into a course to help educate them of the safety and different aspects of it. That may be interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, out of our packet, I guess the piece that I saw that might be enforceable, or maybe we could get a discussion around or additional citations on, would be the some sort of documentation for yielding the right of way. And again, I don't want to fine 12-year-olds or 10-year-olds. I don't, the what's fair to enforce, some of the cities had $25. I don't care if it's $5. To me, it's more, you have to tell your parents essentially that you did something. But I think it's City of Harlan. If I scroll up, I don't want to lose my spot. It's page 89 in here, but the improper writing, I think even if council or, with the police department could define things that are improper writing. So they specifically point out zigzagging into traffic and, coming on and off the road unsafely. Maybe that helps, because I think it informs the conversation, whether it's school resource officer or teachers. But if we tell people, well, we need to go into the community and talk about it, I think we have to have some definition of what right and wrong is. We all sit up here saying it's a common sense thing, but common sense isn't always common, right? So, or we wouldn't be having these discussions. So I don't know if it's staff direction or if anyone else on council has opinions on a discussion on what improper writing looks like. I think it's easier to come up with what we know is wrong, or the fact that we need to yield to pedestrians, but that would be my 2 cents on it.
It'll be hard to define all of what's improper. I think back to when I was 16, I took a motorcycle driver's training class, and one of my instructors said, if you feel like you can't be seen, maybe you swerve back and forth within your lane, and something moving back and forth within your lane helps you be more visible because you're going back and forth instead of just straight down that lane. So what is weaving in and out of traffic, or in and out of your lane, or within your lane, and the definition of that as you were driving or sitting and seeing that go, or what is that? So I agree, there are some things that we may, think's improper, but may actually help the safety of that rider if they're weaving back and forth a little bit in their lane instead of just driving straight down a curb line or something like that. They may be more visible. I don't know the answers to all of that stuff, but yeah, it's definitely going to be hard for everyone to enforce, whether it's whether it's pedal bike or electric bike, or my kids rode those ones with 2 wheels that were side by side, and you put you lean forward hoverboards or something. Yeah, those things too, but they didn't go as fast, but I guarantee you they rode them down the road.
Okay, appreciate all that input from council. I guess there's kind of 3 different themes here. There's awareness, there's some potential training, whatever that might look like, and then there's an enforcement piece. I think everybody here would agree awareness is that's the low hanging fruit. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that. So if I could ask staff to put together a list of some options for that, whether that's a website, Facebook, the newsletter, school resources, SRO, those types of things, what some opportunities might be for us, help identify those. That would be great. If somebody could identify a safety training type of thing of some sort, that would be great. I don't know what that might look like or what that might be modeled off of, but that's certainly an easy option, not easy option, but an achievable goal. What I'm hearing a little less excitement about is some additional ordinances or laws regarding this. Is that the general sense I'm getting from council here, is that at this moment, some additional ordinances are not the preferred route?
I think without better. Isn't feasible.
As best I say this, well, Public Works isn't here to dispute it. What if we on certain roads, we create, we paint a line, and that's why Public Works, there's not as much paint as we used to have. But just a little area this wide on streets that are wide enough, maybe that's designated for these e-bikes and these e-scooters to hang out in. Yeah, now maybe they won't follow it as well, but at least it's a start, and keep them on the side of the roads if they don't choose to use the sidewalks. That'll prevent maybe the zigzagging or whatever that we're worried about. That's just an idea. I will say also, I'm going to a Chiefs meeting, a Story County Chiefs meeting on October 2nd. And I asked on the agenda to have this topic be discussed. So Ames, Story City, Nevada, Story County Sheriff's Office, and me. Now, I brought this up a couple months ago, maybe it was 3 months ago, and no other city had problems with it. It's just us. So we're, I guess, patient zero, however you want to call it. Now, I guess hopefully the rest of the cities have caught up. I know Ames is starting to work on things, so hopefully I'll have something to bring back to you then too, at least some ideas. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Perfect. No, that'll be great information, Nate, to get back from you on what our neighbors are doing. So, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, ma'am. I'll start with it. Go right ahead. Just ask that you start with your name and address again.
Sorry, I've just been sitting thinking about, Jen Wiedrin, 706 Park Ridge Avenue. Just hearing the additional discussion. The one thing that I struggle with is that we have to register our pets. And we can license pets, but we can't do any type of licensure around these. So is there any way that we could? Oh, okay, but we could. And so again, isn't there some type of licensure that's not even necessarily licensure, but just by registering it, you're agreeing that they will follow current bike rules.
And maybe you could work in some safety stuff that they've got to study and understand as part of that.
So we used to have to register bicycles back in the day, get a license.
Nate will probably tell you that's a huge headache, and it's the succession on that or successfulness of it is very, very, very low.
I think it's a good idea.
Just throwing out ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I appreciate that.
See, I'm not so opposed to, our SRO. I mean, he's at every one of our schools. I think that we work some sort of an educational awareness to where maybe he and you or another officer, a sergeant, go in and you talk about, you get all those kids in an auditorium, whether it's, the elementary, the junior high. It's probably not as much with the high school kids. I'm thinking it's probably more junior high, but just talk about, these are the issues that we're seeing, and these are the reasons why we're trying to make you aware of some of the pitfalls and the obstacles that, you could run into by continuing to operate these in this manner.
Right. My original worry about doing a class would be, how do I get these people to attend? I was worried that attendance would be low. So if we do it at the school, we go to them, that would solve that. And hopefully we can give some literature to the kids to give back to their parents. I think maybe first day of school and the last day of school, we could cover the expectations of going to and from school. And then during summer, maybe, last day of school around then, we could maybe cover our expectations of them during the summer, or at least hopefully help them along, like, hey, maybe don't do this and you'll avoid getting hurt. And again, maybe we could send some literature back to the parents.
Does anyone know if the school board is talking about this also? Or they recognize this as an issue for their students?
I know that the principal, I know a principal in one of the schools doesn't have any interest in it.
Sir, you had raised your hand. You didn't have anything additional. I'm sorry. You. Yeah, you didn't have anything. Justin, I'm sorry. Okay, perfect, perfect. Okay, well, I think at this point, if staff could bring back some thoughts, ideas, I think you've heard a lot tonight, and give council an opportunity to communicate further with the residents. And we can look for some solutions. Certainly, there's an issue, but the way to solve that is not going to be easy. So appreciate it. Moving along this evening, our final work session item is regarding the DR Horton development and specifically the intersection at 560th and First Street. Start with
Anna is here from DR Horton, and I think Brandon is here from Stubbs Engineering. Out of our last meeting, Forrest had drafted some of the comments that he heard. I kind of forwarded those on to Anna, and I think she shared those with Brandon, but I know they wanted to have some discussions, and they provided a different concept, I believe. So, I mean, I'd kind of lean on Brandon to kind of explain the other concept that they came up with. And
all righty, sir. Brandon? Or Anna, yeah, I'm sorry. Whomever. Or both of you, you choose.
This was the original concept that shows the roundabout. Yeah, yeah, so we kind of looked at overall design just based on the previous comments from the last work session, and wanted to run both of these by you, as well as then obtain a little bit more information on like your expectations. So now we're removing the requested roundabout. Sounds like previously in the other meeting, it was talked about a potential four-way stop with stop signs or potentially a traffic light. I mean, huh?
I think what was recognized is something's necessary. It needs to be a controlled intersection in some sort,
Yep.
so.
Yeah, so really just on a DR Horton standpoint, as well as, development and moving forward, we would just request to have a kind of an understanding of what everybody's wanting, so then we can assess cost. Again, this is only 47 acres. And so we're trying to get as much density as possible in there to justify cost, spread of costs. Hopefully future land comes available, right? So more area to spread costs. So that's kind of the point of us coming here tonight. I can't really speak on an engineering standpoint of how the roads lay out. But can answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. Forrest, can you comment on that page 111? Is that, I'm not a traffic engineer, is that adequate? I mean, they're trying to align that to 90 degrees all the way around. Seems tight, but maybe not.
Yeah, my initial reaction to that, and I'm looking at a small scale just like you are. My initial reaction was maybe that's a little too tight coming into that 90, that it needs to be a little bit further out before the curve starts, and then meaning that this is straighter for a little bit longer, straighter for a little bit longer, curve, so they can move this intersection a little bit further west, but there's no dimensions, I'm sitting there with a little scale trying to look at all that, and so I'm not opposed to this as a concept, but my initial reaction was seems like a little tight.
Just,
Sure.
Hi, Brandon Stubbs, 1609 North Ankeny Boulevard, Ankeny, Stubbs Engineering. Yes, we just absolutely put this together kind of as a concept, as a talking point. So we would look at, the queue length and things like that if we move forward this direction. But yeah, we're in favor, obviously, of the stop sign or adjusting that. Obviously, you'll have to give up some right of way with this option. We will, and the neighbor to the south. But open for discussion.
What you're envisioning here would be a four-way stop, not a traffic signal. Is that correct? Or is it the same design either way?
Yeah,
This could be a two-way, just stop north and south, and east first could still be through.
Plus, if it did go to a four-way, we'd definitely probably have to change the speed limits in that area then, correct?
I would recommend that, yes.
yeah, especially coming around that curve. Yeah, probably want to drop that speed limit.
I wonder with longer approaches or straight tangents there going into there, obviously you're working on dealing with the parcel to the north, so you can make adjustments to that.
Yep.
If anything to the south, that's not yours, that's somebody else's. I mean,
Which you have the same issue with the roundabout, but yeah, I don't know which is,
who's amenable or
who's amenable or which option takes more ground from that southwest property owner versus a roundabout versus the bringing that 5/60th in into a curve.
From what we've seen, I think this would take up less ground from the south property owner than the roundabout. Those roundabouts just eat up so much right away. We've done a few in the last few years, and they're just much bigger than you think. And you have to carve out a lot of ground there. But that's kind of why we were thinking this route.
I know in talking with the Kaufmans on a couple of occasions, they weren't real hip on a roundabout coming in. So I wonder if they would be a little more amenable to something like this versus the roundabout. And it's something that I'm willing to reach out to them and kind of share the concept.
Forrest, I think when you did or I guess it wasn't you, but the traffic study, the flowability is probably not the right engineering term. But for turning left out of there, I just think if that's where my concern would be. I get that you're now 90 degrees to it, so visibility is different, but do we think that sort of bend in the road is going to allow traffic to flow safely? And I know it's mostly just school traffic that are peak times, but will that get us what the roundabout was getting us as far as being able to flow safely there?
No, a roundabout would help traffic flow more fluid through there because coming from the north and the south, you're not sitting there at the stop sign waiting for road to clear on East First before you turn. So a roundabout helps with that as traffic, especially as this area develops and traffic gets denser, a roundabout would be better. So yeah, roundabout long-term helps with that fluidity a lot better. Would this work with one development going in here? Probably would work fine, but there could be, as people are coming out of this neighborhood and wanting to turn left, if they want to go to Cambridge, then there could be some stacking going on there in the mornings.
I guess, yeah, that's my primary concern. And maybe maybe once we know the dimensions, we have a better idea of, I guess it wouldn't change traffic flow, but what we might anticipate people being able to get in and out from a two-way there. But I thought that was one of the primary drivers or motivations behind the roundabout, as we know that's a high flow area during at least morning and afternoon times.
And there may be justification with this option to have some turn lanes on 560th, both from south and north. Just haven't gotten far enough into it to know that.
Yeah, certainly fair enough. Certainly recognize that. With this concept that's on the screen there, Forrest, would I'll call it the bank, need to be taken out of the road, or would you leave the bank to that road, East First? Because that seems to be a concern of mine, is that bank doesn't help.
Yeah, I don't know, Brandon, if you've looked at that. There is, it can. I kind of drove out there and the bank, it's kind of flat in some areas and then it banks and that.
Yeah. We could certainly figure that out if you said, hey, let's move, we just probably haven't detailed out each option at this point, but we could certainly figure that out for you.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell without any geometrics at all. And the other thing is, you know, I saw on Highway 20 up near Holstein, they put in separation lanes in different ways. There's a lot of different potential solutions to increase the safety of everything. Each one of them could take up more right of way than just that roundabout would, right? So there's a lot of things to balance in designing a safe intersection and that has the right amount of traffic flow and everything in there. And it's really hard to tell based off of this. I think from my viewpoint, I want a safe intersection that handles the traffic appropriately, doesn't have a lot of queuing, and can handle the capacity as this area continues to grow, because it most likely will. Whether that's a roundabout or signals or turn lanes or separated lanes or flattening the banks, I'll leave that to the engineers to do their work and the details that really go into that. And council, my direction is just, let's get a safe thing that looks forward looking.
Yeah, I would agree with your comment on safety. But I also got to sit here and look at it from a financial standpoint, because our friends in the county are going to have no interest in developing this again. So if we have no help, how are we going to finance? I mean, whatever we're looking at, we're going to have to take that into the picture too. Because we don't have an unlimited pot of gold here to dig out of. But I'd agree. I think something like this looks like that even if you started as a four-way, that eventually you could move that to stoplights fairly easy, couldn't you?
Yes.
Traffic signals of some sort down the road. But hell, do it as an ideal. I don't know what's ideal.
Traffic signals aren't cheap.
I realize.
So very, very expensive.
Roundabouts aren't cheap either.
Yeah, so
I mean, nothing's cheap.
if we're looking at four-way stop and stuff, I reiterate that we'll probably have to change the speed limits and in that area also. So I think it's still good with just a two-way stop, you know, the north and south traffic, but I'm like you, I'm not an engineer, and I'll leave that up to the engineers to determine what we should and should not have and the size and so forth.
No, all fair points. I think it might be prudent, recognizing that this development's going to put just a small load on here, but we've all recognized there will be growth in this area, and this intersection will continue to evolve, and you know, whether that's additional turn lanes or whatever that might be. So my point being, it might be prudent to ask at this time for some appropriate right of way at that corner to be dedicated by DR, such that it could be a roundabout in the future, and we're not buying that land from those property owners in the future. So I guess I would ask staff to look at that concept as well, and as best as you can see in your crystal ball as to what we might need in the future and how much land that might take to look at a right of way large enough to accommodate that. So is there a general, I've heard from two council members here that aren't, at least two council members that aren't opposed to this concept on page 111, which would be stop signs north and south and a rough alignment like this. Is that any opposition to that?
I would like more information. We had more information with the roundabout before I would feel confident. Even Forrest alluded to just, specs and dimensions. It's like, give us confidence that this is gonna work, because again, I'm not an engineer, so. But yeah, if it passes all the specs and we think that we can do it safely there without introducing a hazard for the new homeowners there, I'd be open to it.
Yeah, I'm on the safety side, right? But 110, 111, 110. If you look at 110, it just straightens it out more, right? This
110's exist.
110 is existing? I thought there was a straight 90. Was that 111? Okay.
Maybe we misinterpreted that. I thought that was one of the options, so. if
The road curves there.
That'd be an option of leaving it as it is and putting four-way stop signs.
I don't know. I don't like that because of the future, right? So no, we're just kicking the can down the road. And then what? We don't have the room on the one side to make the roundabout or the turning lanes. Or to do anything, we're just stuck. Like we've done that to ourselves before. We get ourselves stuck and I don't want to see us do that. So I'd like more information on the roundabout and turning lanes is what I was hopeful to see.
I like the idea of buying or acquiring or whatever it is, the ground that we have, the right of way for the future. Then maybe we don't go through the huge expense today, but have the room to grow into it as time goes. I mean, if you got the room to grow into it, then it makes it easier, yes.
Yeah, and whether you acquire that from the other three parcels at this time, I don't know, but there's a cost to DR, but there's very little cost to the city to require that right of way dedication at this point, at least on their development, their plat, so. Staff, do you have enough direction or do you need some additional direction?
Kind of my suggestion would be is to talk to Brandon about getting this a little bit better, not a little, a lot better. And to do a traffic study and saying, what would we need turn lanes coming from the north and the south? Do a traffic study when this is fully developed. All this traffic's gonna be coming on to 560th. What do we need there? What would a roundabout look like? Going back to the 3 slides up, what would that room look like? Because with one of them, you're kind of curving. And so if you did the roundabout, it wouldn't necessarily take up a whole lot more room because you'd go back to straightening 560th into roundabout. So, I guess that would be my suggestion if D.R. Horton and Stubbs are okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a combination of a couple things you guys said, we could certainly design it in a way that a future roundabout or future lights, whatever your preference is. We do that a lot, early stages of city development, we line it up and dedicate the right of way. We just did that in Waukee. They had us put in a 2-lane and we dedicated 120 feet for future 4-lane. So I think both those things make sense. Line it up in a way. You guys decide if you want a street light or a roundabout in the future. And we can like Forrest said, the alignment for a roundabout is probably different than the alignment for a street light because the roundabout could come straight in versus a street light. You'd still want to come in perpendicular. So if we had some direction on street light versus roundabout, we could get the design so you have minimal removals in the future. We can look at the traffic study with Forrest, get the queue length that we need. Is it 2 cars, 4 cars, however many cars are going to be queued up there. Make sure those are all perpendicular. And then, like you said, dedicate the right of way on our plat now so you guys don't have a problem with space later. I think all those things make sense. And the only reason we have not designed this in detail, because I think we've been looking at 5 or 6 options, and so to go and design them all to engineering standards might be a little bit of a waste of time, but we certainly will. Now we have some direction. We can put it in, construction level detail.
No, I appreciate those comments. I guess polling the council here, some people, maybe everybody has a passion one way or the other on roundabouts. I think the data probably speaks for itself. They are safer. I don't think there's really a dispute to that, but people have their thoughts on roundabouts. So Is there a preference, a strong preference to see a roundabout here, or do you believe in the future, maybe a traffic signal intersection might be the down the road future here?
I guess transparently, until last meeting, I was under the impression that it was going to be put in with a roundabout per the traffic study and the recommendation. I thought the only reason this came as a proposal was a cost reduction because there was dispute on whether the city should share the cost. At the end of that meeting, my take, and this is not directed towards you guys in any way, is for previous builders, we've had them absorb the cost of that infrastructure. So I was in favor of keeping it as consistent, whether it was DR Horton or Bella Homes or whoever it was. Steve was here last time to speak to the fact that he paid for the infrastructure. So yeah, whether it was the road or the roundabout was spoke to because it was what was in the plan at the time. So I still think we should be as consistent as possible with whoever the builder is.
Roundabouts, John?
They're unpopular, there's.
Correct. Nobody's arguing the safety of that thing.
Yeah,
Fatality, safety.
right, they're safer and have good flow, so I prefer those. But if, you know, everything's looked at, and the geometrics are looked at and everything for this intersection, and it can be designed. I mean, if it's gonna be signals at some point, it might be about the same price to put in a roundabout as signals and everything else out here. Obviously, you wouldn't want rural signals, to start out with, because rural signals don't work very well. And so,
Four-way stop or flashing yellow light.
they don't work well. And so nobody stops at them, and that's gonna be a problem. So do you put in signals right away if you're thinking about signals, all these other things that go into the engineering and design of that. So I want a safe intersection that can handle the traffic and everything else. If it's a roundabout, cool. If it's signals and lanes, look at the geometrics, look at everything. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
I don't recommend signals go out here initially at all. No, we don't want to do that.
I kind of like the idea of what we talked about a little bit ago. I don't remember who it was, but securing the right of way for a possible roundabout down the road. And then with this development, we're good with just the two, you know, the north and south stop sign. Yeah, right. So, but you know, we all know it's gonna probably grow, and when that happens, if we have that land secured with a right of way, then we can look at the roundabout.
From staff's perspective, I would say the roundabout would probably be the most. I mean, in the future, the roundabout's better. Traffic lights, we constantly are doing maintenance. We have issues with them. Roundabout, you just, once it's there, you know, there's not a whole lot of maintenance to it. Unless it gets tore up. I mean, I think the roundabout can probably go in a little bit cheaper too, but lights, we constantly are working on the lights around 69, and that's just a headache for our guys. So, I mean, I think long-term, I think this concept works if we can get everything to work and secure the right of way for a roundabout down the road. I think that's a better option for the city overall, in my opinion.
But if we have to build a lot of extra lanes to get it to square up, you might as well do the roundabout now.
That's what
I just say if we do a roundabout later, take in mind when you're looking at ground, there's school buses going through here, so we don't end up with a skinny mini roundabout like Ames has, and you can't even get a pickup truck around it. So we need to be aware that we got school buses transverse.
I was gonna say in Farmington, they're that a lot.
Okay, any final comments from Stubbs or DR? Please.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. So kind of just speaking on how we said you guys would maybe potentially want to look at it in the future, like potentially proposing maybe a development agreement that says, because it sounds like to the west of us is also zoned for future residential as well. Right, is, yeah, your guys' comp plan is to go that way.
Let me jump in, I think I think that was the old plan. The new plan for clarity is that we would give or purchase the right of way space now, put in the stoplights or stop signs, sorry. And then you guys could come down the road and do that
Yep, that's what I
sometime
was-
down the road.
That's what I was,
Okay.
that's what I was gonna say.
Perfect.
Is a development agreement for the future.
Yeah.
Like we would give them the ground.
Yeah,
right?
yep, and then they
Yeah.
would take care of it in the
Yeah.
future, so. Yeah, I guess just to summarize, just so we're on the same page. So if this moves forward and the geometrics work and you guys are happy with it, we would come and get the street aligned like we want to. The forest and you guys can get behind. Parcel off some of that ground is right away and the city would own it. And then in the future at some time, I just want to make sure we're not in the same problem at the expense down the road, because we would want to know that now, so, but yeah. Oh, go ahead. I'm done.
Yeah, yes, fair. Sure.
I just want, I'm not gonna try and sway anybody's decision making as much as just give a little bit of information. Now, we have had some pretty nasty T-bones on that intersection. I understand now it's because it's skewed or not, straight. And maybe that would straighten that out, our problems with that, but that is a 55-mile-an-hour zone and people making a left turn from northbound 560th, the newly paved road, they're getting nailed. And just, I don't have raw data or numbers for you, but I just kind of noticed an uptick. Now, this is with the interstate closed. I expect once the interstate is open at 210, we're gonna see more traffic using 560th northbound and making that left turn into Huxley. So that's just food for thought. Again, I don't want to influence the decision or anything. I just wanted you guys maybe consider that too.
But I would hope though, as this is developed and we have more homes there, that the 55 goes away and that drops down to a more manageable speed.
Yeah.
Because you don't want somebody coming out of a residential area onto onto a 55. So, but yeah,
Right.
I agree. I think that speed's,
Right.
is gonna have to go down at some point.
Ballard's not 55?
Right. And then, right. And this is just for my, I guess, curiosity, as I see, what would be 560th, which is right now, gravel. Will there be a sidewalk on 560th? Are those backyards that I'm looking at, some of those and side yards? A trail, okay. And is that true on 315th or East First Street as well? Will there be trail or sidewalk?
There'll be sidewalk through all the interior streets on both sides.
Okay, what about exterior on the south side there? You can see?
And the trails on Oakwood Boulevard. There.
Is there anything on First Street?
Here. Down here.
All right, so there's no pedestrian way on East First Street from the west side to 560th, and then from East First up north on 560th, there is no pedestrian or there is trail on that. Okay, I'm just not seeing.
This trail.
Okay,
Here.
okay, all right.
That's right.
Yeah, I think so. And then when they develop the west, that trail tie in here.
So now they're just gonna be landlocked, there won't be a way for them out of there on foot or bicycle or anything.
That was my question. That's just curiosity. I just. Well, we can anticipate things in the future, probably on the east side but that's for you guys. That's it.
Concerned about the sidewalk.
Okay, so we owe the development team here some direction. I think there's at least 3, maybe 4 councilmen members that support this page 111. So probably proceed with that concept, again, with the right-of-way dedication we've talked about. But unless I hear some strong disagreement from council, that's the direction I'm going to give the team and staff.
I prefer the roundabout more.
Okay.
Especially
Monday one.
Well, especially hearing, all the traffic issues and stuff out there and the issues with the signals that they're constantly dealing with on 69. you take all that away. And that's good. So when this is developed, what is future? Is it when this is developed when it's needed? Or is it when the next development or two other developments go in together? My preference is that, but ultimately all I want safe intersection.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that my intent was understood and wasn't one of the four. I was in favor of the roundabout unless this came back with a traffic study and proved equally effective with turn lanes or something, but I feel like a development agreement dedicating the land is significantly different than what we talked about last meeting, which was sharing the cost of a $470,000 roundabout or potentially the developer absorbing that entire cost. That to me seems like a huge cost difference to our future citizens that are gonna have to pay for it. So yeah, the roundabout would still be my preference. And then I wanted more information on if the bend was considered comparably safe, but yeah, I would still be in favor of the roundabout and then having the discussion of what percentage or if we do it the same way we've been doing it, which is 100% to the developer. So.
Did we settle what the percentages
No, it
might
feels
be
like
or
we
not?
needed it
Because
to
I
be
think in
different.
history, we've made the developer bear most of those costs in a lot of the developments. For, the development man in Northview from, Timber Lane, when that was paved from gravel to pavement in 2005. And then the stuff out towards Cedar Lane and Porch Light and that stuff, that was all paved to get to those developments by the developer out there. So I don't know if we've settled on.
Most
those.
of our new developments, though, the developer is putting it in, but they're being reimbursed for a large chunk of that cost through a TIF agreement.
I guess I just want to make sure we're treating all the developers the same as we move forward through here. And I know I was remote last time and I don't know if I was fully heard in that, but I want to make sure everybody is fairly treated.
I did translate for you.
You did.
Well, we've, since I've been here, we've seen development agreements for housing that have gone and prior ones that have gone from 600,000 to 6 million to up to 15 million, depending on how large it is. So, they have put in the infrastructure, but they've also got a lot of that infrastructure paid back to them through a development agreement. So,
Yeah, we just need to study that a little.
yeah. So. The roundabout cost, they were around 636, 676 in there somewhere, I think. So, but
And I think what led to this discussion is we talked about the cost, but we never did get a consensus to how the cost share, who was gonna pay for the cost.
Forrest had done a cost share, based on their development when it was built out was, would be responsible, depending on which method you looked at, it was 36 to 38% of the total cost of that roundabout.
But then that comes back to the fact of, is this how we treat everybody else or, where are we coming up with this cost share? I mean, it's very easy to say arbitrarily, we're doing this or we're doing that, but we don't really have any data that show that what we're doing is consistent.
I don't know that anything has been consistent. I think they've looked at each deal and they put the deal together as to what makes sense. And as councils change, those deals have changed. So I don't know that you can get a consistency across the board to treat them all exactly the same because it hasn't been done to this point. It's been different.
Yeah, I guess that I would speak to a little bit on that cost sharing. I mean, I think police chief tonight has talked about, and we've heard previously that this is not a great intersection. And once the interstate opens back up, even without DR's development, this is not a good intersection. So, if DR's development doesn't happen, this is still something that the city should look at and probably invest in. This intersection's not good. So to put 100% of that cost on DR for an existing problem, I don't know that that's right either, so.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that statement. Just saying that part of why we got to where we are tonight is because we didn't have a consensus to where things are at. And so I don't know that we really come back to any better consensus. We just, I think, to me, the reason we threw out these other options was because looking at that cost share and the city's proportion of it was like, wow, what are we gonna do to pay for this? And that's what led into the discussion of, is a roundabout the best avenue? Not necessarily from a safety issue, but more from a fact that we have limited dollars to what to do. So I think that's really the piece that we've got to figure out is.
Can we ask that they engineer the roundabout plus the just the north, east and west through traffic, north and south stop sign? Do that at this point. And then we can talk at a later council about the financing on whether or not we want to do with the roundabout. Yeah.
So,
Getting long.
I just kind of want to throw out there as well, like we are under contract with a seller. We are on somewhat of a timeline. And so that's why we're just coming back, just wanting to really get your guys' guidance on which way we can go, so we can either proceed or we'll have to, just figure out what we need to do on that end. Yes, because they're every day. Yep. And they're also working through the annexation. So they're just moving and they're like, what do we do? And I'm like, we're working on it. So, yeah, we just asked, we'll do whatever you would like us to do. So just wanted to throw that out.
I would suggest then we just go with the roundabout, and I mean, cause we got a consensus, and then, we can talk about the cost sharing of any later, at a later date.
So roundabout design on day one, that's what I'm hearing. I'm seeing at least 3, 4.
Yeah, I would say under the circumstances we're at today with needing the timeline and the whole works, the rest of this, I think, is gonna take much more time to discuss and hash out what's best.
Okay. Please.
Okay, so, kind of sounds like maybe we went backwards there. So if we are looking at the roundabout design, then we would probably need those cost share numbers now too, because just to be straightforward, it won't work at probably a lot of the percentages that you guys are talking about. Just, just the numbers don't work out, and that's fine if they don't, if you guys aren't looking for a development here, but I don't think DR or the developer that were to take this over would want to throw another 100,000 in engineering, and then you guys say, oh, we want X percent in it. Well, if we would have known that up front. So we would probably be on hold until, if we went the roundabout. Revisiting, can we discuss what I think 3 of the 5 of you were on, or 4 of the 6 you were on board with postponing the roundabout? Can I help address some of those concerns? So, one question was, when do we put in the roundabout? I think that would be when a traffic study merits it. I don't think the traffic from this development would, merit a roundabout. You could say it's safer, and it is. It'd be safer to have every intersection in that development, all 8 of them or 9 of them would be roundabouts, but sometimes, you have to to look at it, and is it merited to spend all that money, your money and our money, whoever ends up paying for it. But I think it makes a lot more sense kind of where we were at earlier, putting the stop sign in and preparing the street for a roundabout. And then when the city deems it's necessary, to pull the trigger on that. We do a lot of this work, development work around the metro, and even post up here. We don't see a lot of roundabouts this far out. A lot of times we see what we talked about, dedicating the right of way, preparing our street connections to be ready for a roundabout. We just, because the city can't really justify spending that kind of money for roundabouts, and developers won't spend that kind of money for roundabouts. I'm not sure what the situation is across town where you guys mentioned the developer. I heard TIF money, obviously that's a huge deal. But yeah, in our experience, I don't know, maybe Forrest can jump in. A roundabout this early when all the other three sides of the intersection are not developed and to the west of us isn't developed, and it's a gravel road, so you know, there's not high volume there now. You know, we don't see a lot of roundabouts here, so we're trying to work with you and work through some options, but you know, are there any specific concerns that we can discuss about doing the stop sign now and looking at the traffic numbers? You know, we could increase that queue length. If you guys say, hey, there's too many cars queued up on 560th, we could do 5 cars or 6 cars, you know, maybe put a buffer in there to make sure that's safe. But I just think that's a lot more reasonable based on the dollar numbers we're talking. You know, I'd hate to see this thing go away just because we didn't look at this stop sign option hard enough.
Certainly fair points. The roundabout cost, is that 700,000? That was your number?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And just remember also, the cost of paving that street itself around a corner too. That has to be taken in by, we haven't talked about that percentage as well. So it's not just the roundabout, we're dealing with a lot of off-site costs is what we call those.
So just so I'm clear, that's getting paved, right? Going north from where the roundabout would be
To the edge of their development, right?
Yep.
Project limits.
to Oak.
No, not
It's
to,
not
not
Oak.
Bend. It would just hit a to the north end, the north end.
Okay, okay.
Wow.
For whatever reason, I thought Oak was right there. That's good.
They scroll up, let's see how high you can get.
So if we went with the stop sign, with the being able to build the roundabout, what does that do? Is that getting you off the hook totally for the roundabout cost then, or what?
Well, we would dedicate the right of way, we would pay for the street bending, you know, the extra costs there, but yeah, that anything that we, you know, and turn lanes obviously aren't cheap either.
So we just kick
About
the roundabout.
125 to 150,000 on ones we've done this last year, but yeah, we would dedicate the right of way, and when the city thought it was necessary, you guys could come back.
Are turn lanes on East First warranted at this time, Forrest, or have you looked at that?
That would be part of
Okay.
that traffic study.
Yeah, we'd run a traffic, but you know, usually it's turn lanes if it's high traffic turning north or south off First Street. I wouldn't think
I
so.
wouldn't think so.
Okay. That's.
Yeah.
And there's that other entrance down here as well. That's gonna
Sure.
bleed off some of that traffic.
You know, one option may be, again, traffic will give you a better answer on this, but to have a turn lane coming south, you know, so there could be a left turn and a right turn if you guys are worried about people turning left, getting queued up at that intersection. There could be a left turn and a right turn. But I guess I would assume most people that are going right would go out the other access there.
I'm just a little bit concerned with traffic, as we aren't for sure when 69 and 210 is gonna go down. Right? 5 years. Within 5 years, but we're not 100% sure, but we do know that when that happens. Watch out, this is gonna be wild, wild west out here. Absolutely. Because it's gonna be really the only access out of town. And with the interstate opened up out there. And Blue Sky building out there, or adding their addition out there, just the amount of traffic that's gonna be on 560th is gonna be. Very, very much increased here in the next few years. And then comes the safety issue. So I do understand cost, but I'm trying to balance cost, safety, what we need. I sure the heck don't want to leave it on the backs of citizens to pay for something that should have been done to begin with.
Certainly fair. I guess my counterpoint to that is the fact that the DOT is potentially redoing the 69 and 210. The burden caused by that and the cost associated shouldn't be borne by this developer just because he happened, you know.
And I would totally agree, but right now, you probably don't see a lot of traffic on 560. There's still quite a bit there, but keep in mind that the interstate's been closed all year.
Yeah.
And so a lot of your traffic that would go that direction is not going that direction because you can't get out that direction. And when you open up that area that you can get out, I think we're gonna see traffic at a much higher level than what we're currently seeing. Because
It just,
they've got the option to go there.
it seems like the logistical or the right staging also, when you build and pave to the north and put in that stuff. Then if you come back 5 years later and then you tear up this brand new stuff to put in a new roundabout too. You know, it looks like we're actually visioning and forecasting 5, 10, 20 years out. We're actually making a projection of what we need, of what we're going to need, and we build it right to start with. So, so there is a perspective of that may think you guys are thinking boots if we build something and then 5 years later we tear it out and build something different. And then they're disrupted a couple times. So I like the fact of go in there, build it right, whatever the cost share may be, right, or whatever is appropriate, build it right, interfere with that roadway, because that's gonna interfere probably with maybe some bus routes unless it's built completely outside of school system, right? It's gonna interfere with that traffic. I like the fact that it's just gonna gradually fill in and fill in, and you can have all the construction traffic going to fill in these houses and fill in these houses, build these houses and ready-mix trucks and wall form guys and area materials deliveries. There's gonna be a lot more traffic turning into this development during the construction of it. So during that period of time, it's gonna be more than your 1 or 2 cars leaving, coming and going from that house, right? Which is the end result. You're going to have a lot more construction traffic during that period of time. So I like, if we're gonna do something, I mean, it's warranted, and we kind of leaned on the fact, at least to me, it's been proposed from the beginning, the roundabout. It seemed like it was going to be the safest aspect. I like that. I thought that's the right direction. I'm with Corey here. I was all thinking we were going to be roundabout until this last meeting when some other alternatives came through. I thought that was the right decision. I thought that was in front. It was the right sequence of getting stuff done. And it would be really helpful for future stuff, not burdening the developer for other stuff on 69, but it's the right sequence because of this and everything else that coincidentally also helped out when 69 was working. Not the fact that it burdening the developer for 69. So I really.
And I'm not for burdening anybody any added costs that they definitely shouldn't have.
Absolutely.
But I'm with you. I think that we gotta really think through what is right.
Mr. Ridley?
Yeah, I mean, I pulled up last meeting's traffic study, or mini traffic study is actually what it was labeled, but at that point, it was proposed and warranted to have a roundabout. I felt like really the only reason we were changing it was the cost. So if the cost share is part of the discussion, then let that be part of the discussion. Like I almost feel like we're going on a wild goose chase with turn lanes and traffic lights and 2 ways versus 4 ways versus at that time, the proposal was 36 to 38% would be what you guys attributed per that traffic study, or what was estimated that you guys would contribute per the traffic study. So whatever the final cost of the roundabout was, I feel like in 2 weeks, we went from saying you guys would contribute that as at least the proposal that was given to us to now we don't even know if we want a roundabout. I still think roundabout's the right answer. If the percentage is what we're discussing, let's discuss that as a follow-up, what percentage makes sense, but I feel like we're adding a bunch of details and not ironing anything out.
Well, that's a fair comment. Let's talk about cost share. Let me start with Stubbs or DR based on your cost estimates of 700,000 for a roundabout. If you're accountable, if you're in for 36% of that, is that a workable solution for you folks? I know, as you mentioned, cost is significant. So
No, it wouldn't work. Well, let me rephrase that. Would the city take on? Would we be responsible for a cost share on 560th as well? Then
Responsible for,
100% on 560.
I thought that's what we talked about. Is that right? I don't know.
That's what we talked about in the last meeting, and that's where so 37%, which is a split of 700,000. We're talking 259,000 plus whatever 560th is. I mean, I completely respect how expensive it is, but I feel like we went from that proposal to like just scrapping it to putting in some stop signs, which seems drastic.
So that's, I'm sorry.
That's 37% of
37% was
700,000.
is 260,000, and their cost estimate for 560th is another 340. So they're in for $650,000 that they don't sell any lots off of either one of those streets. Like the requirements, I get that,
But to clarify, the 36% was what Forrest calculated as their contribution.
Yeah.
We're not talking 100% there. That's what we thought that development would add to that intersection.
correct. Well, they're in for 100% of the 560th, right?
Yeah, well, that's what we had discussed, but yeah.
Yeah. So what is that, 4,000 to 5,000 a lot, which is probably your develop. Yeah, and a developer here that probably cuts their not there's not huge margins on this plat. I mean, that probably cuts almost all of it. So just a number. I'm just being straightforward with you guys. So yeah, that's kind of where that's why I came back up, because I thought you guys might come back and, I don't think, yeah.
Would we ever with any developer go into agreement that they wouldn't pave that road in front of their development? I think that'd be contrary to practice. Well, that's what I'm asking. From our normal practice, we always would require 560th.
That's what.
To be paid. Am I correct on that?
So if we went to TIF agreement for 36% on 560th also, would that make your numbers good?
Yeah, that would get us a lot closer, certainly. I'd have to run the numbers there. It really, we're just looking at it at total offsite cost,
I don't have it.
We look doing the
Which gets us our roundabout and 560th
Yeah.
paved.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you look at it, it's like the 560th is basically all backyards for this development. So, I mean, we're having them pave.
We had.
That'd be no different than Oak or.
Yeah, but this, I mean, the other side's not even, the other side is county and we're paving this.
You paid Timberlane.
Yeah.
By the golf course.
He didn't have to.
You didn't have to.
Yeah, he did that on his own to get in the city, right?
More about
Right.
You could have this versus city.
I mean, yeah, if you took their 36% cost of 560, then you gave that about a tip deal, I wouldn't lose any sleep over that at all.
Short. Short term deal before we got 10, 5.
Must be 10.
Well, housing is
10 for base.
10 per phase. Yeah. So.
I'm good with that. I mean, because I think it's gone both ways. I think in the past, since I've been here, we've changed agreements, TIF agreements.
So.
And we're asking them to do. It's kind of like the gravel. We're adding the gravel and so forth. We're adding an intersection here. That,
For safety for everybody.
yeah, exactly.
I could see that for the intersection. Whether roundabout or not, but on 560, I don't know.
What if you, okay, that's fine. Instead of 36%, that becomes 64%.
I'm just confused how this proposal that came to us 2 weeks ago as this suggestion.
That was
Yeah.
the first recommendation.
But-
It's not the developer.
I get that, but It's, yeah, why are we scrapping that? Like, it's not,
Because it's not.
What we're looking at is costs.
then is it financially viable? Like,
Which we've done for others. Aaron, go ahead.
Yeah, to your point. Aaron Trowbridge, 505 West Centennial. To your point, we pay the engineers to give proposals for things like this. If they say a roundabout's needed, we should probably put a roundabout in. I'm on your wavelength of day one. This is, if we do this with a four-way, we're 2-year planning, 4-year, 5-year planning, not 10, 15, 20. I think the only reason we're having this discussion is because there's a development going here. The 36, 64, like they should be more of the burden on their part, because again, we're here for them. To the point of, has there been a traffic study done without the development? Like what should we do with that intersection? You know?
There's not been.
Because I would say if we were to put any part to that, we look at it without their development and think, what do we need to do to make it safe? Because it's not a good intersection. Yeah, anecdotally, what can we do? A 4-way stop? Maybe that's our cost. Maybe that's what we cover for the roundabout. But to think that we're going to wait until we need a roundabout, then we have these discussions of who's going to pay for it, how long it's going to take, rather than starting out day one. Yeah. Thanks.
Appreciate your comment.
Yeah.
So if I look at them paying 36% of the roundabout, so 64% of 200 tip and 560. That would give them a tip deal roughly $775,000. To pay for those.
They're fronting all of that,
It's front,
but they're giving them that.
they give that $775,000. And they can phase that over their phases, so you do the first phase. You said you hope to build 35 houses a year.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
So, and you're talking about 40 lots, so you really, if you get those built that first year, you're collecting on 10 years of that, you go to your next phase, so. Yeah, so it would be a fairly quick payback if you build on school.
So we would have to front all of the costs right up front. Is that
Yes,
correct?
that's what they've done with developers in the past, they fronted it, and they've done a deal. But then based on that increment from the ag to your new ag value, you would get, well, we'd have to put some of that on it, so you get 52%.
How would that be reimbursed to the developer as they plat lots or when they?
It would be, if the houses are built, taxes are paid, so you have people paying their taxes, then each year, it's like, okay, this is the amount of.
The homeowners?
Well, the developer would know what the homeowners.
City rate cash.
I mean, you would be able to get a list from the county, okay, here are the homes, here's what they're assessed. Here's what that increment brings in. Part of that has to go to LMI just based on state law, which is 48%. So the other 52% is captured in that new increment from paying ag versus the homes. There would be a check, would come to the developer, it could be set up as a check in the fall and a check in the summer, or it could be one check. We've done it both ways.
Okay.
But you would put the money up front for that, so, and then you would have phases, so like if you're doing your first phase, you could capture for 10 years, but you would never get more than 775,000. So if, you've got a bunch of that off the first phase and maybe you get most of it paid before you even get to the last phase, it wouldn't be any more than the 775 roughly.
And your increment is all taxes. I mean, it's city, county, it's
School, it's
school,
basically
it's all of it.
$28 out of the $38 tax bill is considered the.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Look at the bottom napkin math going on here.
I mean, we can get with our financial data. We know what you give us the value you think those homes are gonna be, and we can run a projection pretty quick.
Right.
Of what those, if you've got X that are gonna be in the 330, 350, or you're gonna be here.
here's how many houses are gonna fit in there. We can run that projection fairly quick.
Yeah.
To show you what that'll do, and it would also give you guys the same stuff that you got before. So one question I think we should be asking ourselves right now, let's just throw them out. They're out. No, I'm just saying, just hypothetically. So hypothetically, let's think about that. The chief just told us that intersection is not safe. And we're talking safety. So what would we do? Would we throw a roundabout in it at our expense? And then what are we gonna do with this 5/60th? I mean, we complained to the county because they won't add on the extra half mile that we're going from. Aren't we doing the same thing? And it's like, I would want to, if we put a roundabout in that intersection ourselves right now, I would want to pave 5/60th right now for future development at our expense. So for the safety, I mean, I know, you know, because I'm not for the, and I have not been for the tiffing of the residential. But if we're looking at an intersection that we're gonna have to improve, plus the road we're gonna have to do, I think we should be making an exception here. And I know Steve Quick will come in and he'll say, well, you didn't give me this, you didn't give me that. Well, Steve Quick's made over $1.5 million on TIF since it's happened. He didn't get the last one, but he said that, you know, he made his lot smaller. Well, or he lowered the price, I'm sorry, but he made the lot smaller, so he lowered the price. I guess we've gone a long ways tonight. We haven't made any decisions. So that would be, I mean, the things that we need to think about, maybe have another council meeting. Yes. To help them out, but we're not getting anywhere tonight. It's like you said, we're doing a lot of, yes.
Well, and I just go back to the fact that the 5/60th going south, that we can't seem to find enough money to pave a half a mile of road. Then how the hell are we gonna cough up money to do this? I mean,
Well, I don't
if we
think
don't
that-
have money for this little piece, how are we gonna do something much more grandiose?
I don't think the half mile to that we're talking about on the other project is, that's out in the county. We can't do that.
Well, part of this 5/60th is out in the county too.
No.
It's gonna be.
One half of it's. in
No,
the county.
no, it'll be all ours once the annexation. East side is already in the So,
We're gonna have roads up to this north one here, Forest, see that? And, you know, so this is the only extra that's being paid. One lot depth, right? We're not paying a whole bunch of extra.
No, but that's assuming that D.R. Horton pays 5/60th up to that directly, right? But then that again, was that gonna be under TIF or no TIF?
And that's not, yeah.
But I mean, that's what I'm getting at, is we've just got a lot of moving, I agree with you, Rory, we've got a lot of moving pieces tonight. And I don't know that we really got a lot of consensus on where these moving pieces, but because we don't have a lot of dollars, we don't have a lot of information. A lot of hypotheticals.
Let me get numbers from Ann, I'll have Chip run some numbers and we'll see what the offside costs would be.
Give us a couple scenarios. Let's talk about a couple scenarios that we want to work through here.
I'm not against working with people, I just gotta know what I got to work with.
I agree too.
Okay, certainly I'm sensitive to your time. I don't know if you're in your due diligence phase or where you're at with it, but I can appreciate the time is sensitive for you folks. As such, I'll ask my fellow council members here if meeting on the off week is an option. That would be a meeting next week.
We do.
I'm in.
Monday or Wednesday instead of Tuesday. I can't next Tuesday, I guess.
Keep in mind, you've got 3 weeks to your next council.
Yeah, 3 weeks to the next council.
Oh,
But we're just trying to keep them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the 30th is out, it doesn't work.
I can't do next Tuesday.
I'm good for next Tuesday.
I'm good
Monday?
next Monday.
I'm good Monday.
I'm good Monday, can make Tuesday, can make Wednesday,
Monday, the 29th,
make Thursday.
Monday?
Monday, the 29th. How's you guys? I mean, I would encourage you to. It's not, it's certainly open, so I would encourage you to, because your input's valuable, but you're not required. Monday, the 29th, Murphy.
Sure.
Okay, you're good.
I can
Okay.
make anything work.
Okay, and if we, okay,
You and want me to call in, but otherwise I can't.
yep, does a deadline of Monday, the 29th give staff enough time to get us some answers?
I get numbers from Anna, I can get Chip popping on right away.
Okay,
Also can.
all right, we will be you want to do 6 o'clock, you want to do later, 6 o'clock? All right, we'll be meeting in a work session, 6 p.m. on Monday, the 29th. This will be the only item on that agenda I would anticipate at this time, so. With that, I would thank everybody for their time this evening and their input. And I would, oh,
Did you
I'm
say
sorry.
work session?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Sorry, you said work session.
Work session only. Yep. That's for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Roberts, second by Rigler. All in favor, please respond with aye. All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Have a great evening.
Need my flashlight.
Yeah, you're not gonna see much up there.
What day is that?
Oh, I'm gonna be gone.
The 11th.
That's a holiday for
November.
November.
So, health meeting and like that.
Well, I think that question because of what do we need for the grant?
You don't know.
And you don't know. I know.
It's 8 o'clock and it's dark.
What's that?
And it's dark. 8 o'clock and it's dark.
Yep. Indeed. That's a good one.
All right. Let me know if anything comes up with county. Okay.
Yeah, well, if you can give us a little. So if you find my head. No, it's swimming around that. That sounds like. Just don't make sense.